Hi, thanks for watching. I'm going to talk about my high school boyfriend, my first high school boyfriend. I don't remember having one in freshman year. But first of all, I'm going to have one more story about cutting class. I talked about cutting school a little bit, and more will come up on that. But one day when I was just cutting a class to go on a different lunch shift, because there was 3 lunch shifts, and I went and hid somewhere, like behind the auditorium somewhere. And my girlfriend, who I didn't see too much of anymore, happened to be cutting class at the same time. So the two of us went and hid in this room, like behind the auditorium. And the assistant principal caught us, and we ran. We just ran, and he was literally chasing us around. Um, they called them portable rooms. I don't know exactly the structure, but there was these other rooms behind the auditorium. So the anyway, Vandermark, he was chasing us around. We literally ran from him, and he never caught us. That was a good one. So, Gail, you remember that day, I know. Um, okay, so I did just want to mention, just so you know what I did a little bit. I went to all the football games, the away games. We would go on a bus, and I would go to the pep rallies, and I went to all the school dances. But like I told you before, I was not really involved in any extracurricular things. So I also wanted to mention, because this happened right around this time, was that when my one friend and I, when we were on the boardwalk, we went to Gifted Sarah. She was the fortune teller. And we went to her one day, and she read my palm. She told me some things that really came true, and that's why I'm mentioning it, because like I mentioned in my other episode about the supernatural, I definitely believe there's power there. But I don't believe God wants us to go there. He doesn't want to look at he doesn't want us to look at our future, because he wants us to rely on him. That's what I believe. And I get that from the Bible. But at that time, I just was looking for anything I could find. And Gifted Sarah read my palm, and she told me that I was going to marry someone who I already knew. And that came true. She also said it's not it's not your boyfriend right now. And this is after I did get this boyfriend that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to call him Daryl. Okay, so I was going with Daryl, and she said it's not him, but you already do know your husband, who he's going to be. She told me I was going to move. She said, I see you traveling all the way across country she said, probably California, and that happened. She said, I see you with 5 kids. Well, we'll talk about that later. It happened in a way. I mean, I bared 3 kids, but you could definitely get 5 out of my story, you'll see. So that was Gifted Sarah, and that just made me more into the whole occult thing, I was like into Nostradamus and Edgar Cayce and whatever I could hear or listen to. I'll talk a little bit actually, I could go into that right now. Maybe I should. Okay. Well, when I was in my sophomore year of high school, I met 2 new friends. I was getting more friendly with different people. And my sophomore year, I was in business classes, different classes, doing typing and shorthand, or I don't know, there's different ones. I took them all. And so I met 2 girls that I particularly got close to, and I still consider them 2 of my best friends today. I don't know if they want me to mention their names, so I won't. But anyway, where was I going with that? Okay, so if I go into this story some more, I think I might as well because I already mentioned it. Well, me and this one new girl that I got to be friends with, okay? I actually went to the library and got a book on witchcraft. It was a really old book, like published like you know, long, long ago, and thick, big, fat, thick book about witchcraft, and it had all these spells in it. And I was interested in that dark power at that time. I still considered myself a Christian because I still believed what I had learned in church, but I wasn't going to church anymore. And I didn't know enough at that time to, be aware of all the spiritual darkness and all that. I didn't understand all that at that time. So I was very curious and got this book and read this spell. And the spell said, this is a spell to see who you're going to marry. Okay, so my new girlfriend and I, we decided we were going to do it. And you had to do it on the full moon. And you got a mirror. There might have been some preliminary things you were supposed to do. I don't remember. But it was a pretty simple spell because some of them were complicated, that you're supposed to get all these different weird things and mix them together and do all kinds of weird stuff. But this one was a pretty easy one. And so we went outside in the full moon and we got the moon reflected in the mirror like we were supposed to. And with the moon reflected in the mirror over our shoulder, we stood with our backs to the moon, got the moon into the mirror, and then we were supposed to just concentrate. Again, it's like prayer. Like we're just kind of in our mind saying, please work. Please work, please do this. I want to see this, please make it happen. Like, who are we praying to? I wasn't praying to God the Father like I do now. I was praying to something that was going to answer me. So I did it first and just staring at that moon, the full moon in the mirror. And I had it so it was like right there, pretty much filling up the mirror. And just concentrating on like imagining myself as a bride and, who's my husband going to be. And you know how the moon has shadows in it, like they say the man in the moon face or whatever, the craters. And I'm staring and they started to get darker and the shadows started to get darker and started to form the shape of a man very clearly, the silhouette of a young man's body. Because I say young man because the picture was a thin man. I was seeing his silhouette. I saw it so clearly, and you couldn't see the craters in the moon anymore. That's all I saw on the moon was the silhouette of a man. And it was just getting clearer and clearer with the hair and everything, and it just scared the crap out of me. And I just threw that mirror down, screamed. And my girlfriend, of course, she didn't know if I was faking or not. Anyway, then she did it. She did the exact same thing. Same thing happened to her. We were so shook up. We were really shaking, scared to death because something happened. And it was scary. It didn't give us a feeling of peace like I get from God. When I pray to God the Father, I get a sense of peace, that I feel this feeling of well-being, and whatever it is, everything's going to be good. Sometimes I feel God's arms around me when I pray. But this was like not that. It was like a scary, uncomfortable, throw it away kind of feeling. And my girlfriend felt the exact same way. And you know what? I took that book back to the library, and that was the end of that. I was totally convinced after the seance and um the Ouija board, what I talked about in a different episode. And if you haven't seen it, I hope you do look back there. Um, but I was totally convinced this is not a good, it didn't give me a good feeling. I'm never going there again. This is evil. This is from Satan. I was convinced. And I mean, they talked about a lot of things in that book that were scary that I didn't really want to be a part of. So I did end that there, but that's not the end of my supernatural stories, because I've had more that I'll get to later when they come up in my life, as they come up in my life. So when I was in that sophomore year, junior, around 15, my girlfriend, a different girlfriend, she told me, she introduced me to this guy that she was actually liking this guy, and they were starting to see each other. But every time they had like a date, I say like a date because we were too young, he didn't have a car yet or anything, they would get together somehow. She would always bring me with her. I don't know why. And the three of us would hang out and have a good time. He would seem to be okay with it. All three of us would hold hands. He would get in the middle and hold both of our hands. It was kind of like he was with both of us, but he was really supposed to be with her. But, it was all good and fun. But then he had an older friend, and he was only 16. But he had a friend who was in his early 20s, and my girlfriend liked him and wanted to get with him. So when she actually got able to do that, like she was kind of using this guy, the 16-year-old Daryl. She was kind of using him to get to his friend, because she liked older guys. Same one that I told you started having sex when she was 11 years old with a 17-year-old. Anyway, so she was into older men. She was more experienced. So she told me once she was able to actually get with this other guy through Daryl, she told me that I could have Daryl because she was really interested in his friend. So Daryl was good with that. He liked me. So then we ended up going steady. He gave me his ring, and I was happy because I really liked him a lot. In fact, I really, after a little time, I really felt like I was in love with him. And it was I used to feel like I was in love with John back a couple years before. And he went his separate way in high school. All the guy friends that I was with in high school all got other groups of friends, and I just held on to a couple of my girlfriends once I got into high school. So anyway, we were going steady, and he would come to my house a lot, and we would go to dances together and parties and stuff. And he would get, because he had this older friend, right, and he would get Colt 45 and pick me up, and he would always have 3 quarts of Colt 45, which is malt liquor. I don't know if they still make it. It's like beer, but it tasted, I liked it. It tasted pretty good. So he would buy 1 quart for me and 2 for him, and we would pretty much get drunk every time we went out. Sometimes we wouldn't go out, and he would just come to my house, and then we wouldn't drink alcohol, and we would just make out a lot on the couch. And my mother would leave us alone. My dad wasn't there, and my grandma and my brother was little. I was 16, my brother was 8, and I was 15 when I started going with him. So my brother was 7. And I remember one time my brother started down the stairs. He was probably going to the kitchen. The kid was probably hungry and going to the kitchen in the evening. And my mother yelled at him, No, don't go downstairs. Susie has company. So he went back up. So that was my mom. She was like, just leaving us to total privacy, endangering me. I don't know if she realized that or not, whatever. But so we would just watch a little TV. Yeah, right. We're laying on the couch making out every time he came over. And then one day he, we're getting all hot and heavy, and we didn't do anything else for a while. And then one day he got up and sat in the other chair on the other side of the room, and he says, that if I wasn't going to if I wasn't going to let him, do other things, do everything, if I wasn't going to let him, then he was going to have to break up with me. And he told me that I was immature. I was 1 year younger than him and 1 grade under him. He was like, that I was immature, and that the junior girls were all doing it. They were all giving it up. They were all having sex, and he was going to have to, get a girlfriend his age, in his class, because that's what he needed and all that, So I thought he was going to break up with me, and I really felt like I was in love with him. So I gave in, and we had sex. We kind of rolled over onto the floor and ended up on the floor, and that was my first time on the floor in my own living room with my family upstairs, and no door shut or anything. And it was sad because even though I felt like I was in love with him, and he, he must have liked me because I had his ring and all that, We were together for a little while. I don't know how long, a couple months, probably. But it was sad because, and this is not a nice thing for me to say, but it's the honest truth. I'm just being very real. I said I would be from the beginning, and I'm not proud of it. I'm ashamed of it. But, I told you I had read so many dirty books, magazines and books that described all this sex stuff. I had it so much in my head and all, like I had rehearsed it in my head. And when it was my first time, which I, now I regret and feel like God's way is the best way. The best beautiful thing would be to save yourself for your husband and first night and be a beautiful thing, and I was saving myself, but I didn't really know for what. I knew it was a big deal to do it the first time, but a couple of my friends were starting to, I had the one friend that was doing it since she was 11, but my other friends were starting, mostly everybody had a boyfriend at that time, and a couple of them had done it, and, I wasn't like the first one, but anyway, it was sad because it was my first time. Even though I was molested by my grandfather, there was no penetration ever. So I was a virgin. It was my first time. And he, when it was over, he laughed. And I'm like, why are you laughing? And he got up and laughed and went and sat in the chair across the room again. And he said, there's no way that was your first time. He said, nobody does it like that the first time. And I know the reason was because I had read all these books, how to do it, and I was like trying to do it the way they said it in the book, which did not come natural. It was just like I was just remembering, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that, and I was doing what I thought I was supposed to do, not letting it all, just come naturally, whatever. And so he thought that I was lying about my experience, and he said he didn't see any blood, but when I went to the bathroom, there was a little bit of blood, but he didn't see it, so he didn't even believe I was a virgin. Very sad. And but the good thing was, everything in perspective, it was good that his dad supplied him with condoms, so he wore one, and he always had one in his wallet. And yeah, after that, of course, that's what happens. Start having regular sex as much as possible, whenever possible, and that's what happened with us. So let me check the time here. 19 minutes. Time's up for now, but I guess I might have to, I'm going to have to continue with him and that kind of thing because it's already 20 minutes. But that's it. That's my true confession for tonight. And I'll see you next time.